Everybody, I'm Kate.
I'm Jamie.
And we've just finished Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers, so we're going to discuss it. It was a long book.
It was.
But I went through it really fast.
Yeah, it kept my attention for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
the first part, I guess the intro of like meeting the main character of the book, right? Sarah. Was hard, I feel like, to read because she has a really rough past.
Yeah. I started reading this book months, like in the spring, winter.
Yeah.
And I couldn't, it just like wasn't the right time or something. I couldn't, maybe I just didn't have the mental to read it, but.
I've tried to read it years ago. I remember starting it and I was like, oh, and then I just never could,
Can't get past that
same
first
thing, there was
part
something about it I couldn't get into. Yeah.
So much, it just makes me physically sick to hear
it's heavy.
About her experience.
Right in the beginning, you're just thrust into this, like, her life and,
she's unwanted and it's just...
It is sickening, A lot like our world today, fortunately. Even then,
So, I like it how she kind of divides the sections. There was defiance, fear, humility. Was it just 3? Yeah. I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
To show her different.
Yeah, as the character. So she's one that you could really tell the character progression throughout the whole book. Yeah. So
she's rescued by Michael. There's not even he just decides.
Yeah, he just sees her and knows
God's
saying this is your wife, or this is the one you're going to be with. Yeah.
Right. Would be so nice if God just did that
for everything.
Every decision. It's just this is what it is.
Super crystal clear. But it had to be hard. I mean, hard for him to be like, really? Because he did question it a lot. Like, really? This is what you want? He's redeeming. He can redeem anything. So clearly,
I like how this storyline goes along with the biblical storyline of my brain is
Gomer and Hosea. Yeah, that's a really good,
interesting
part of it. Yeah. But it's frustrating at the same time because you want her to. Each time I would be like, okay, she's getting closer and it's going to be, and then she kind of takes a step back and you're like, why? But it's just a process. Like with anybody, it's her process she has to go through. Yeah.
I think there's foreshadowing in the book because Michael tells Angel that the story of Hosea.
Yeah.
So then I feel that's a little bit foreshadowing, she's going to do the same, run away 3 times or whatever.
Yeah. It's just then the running away, just how does that look and what does she,
why?
How long is she gone,
And mostly I feel it's Paul's fault.
Yeah.
A lot of it, which is very frustrating to me because I'm they would just communicate and have the humility to learn about someone else that's different.
Yes. They just assume it's when you just judge someone by their past and wasn't even her choice. Yeah. Any of her past. It was just, she was put into this life. And that's just all she knew. Yeah. So you can't judge just based on that. It's a good reminder to not judge.
She literally was all she has ever known from being a child.
Yes. And when you are introduced to that as a child, that's all. That just seems normal to you. Yeah. It's hard to understand that someone could actually care for you and love you in a normal way.
Right. And not expect something. She keeps expecting that he's going to expect I'm going to do something in return.
Right, right. And always a payback or whatever. You can't just do it and he just appreciates you and loves you.
Right. It's the sacrificial love that she can't
She can't wrap her mind around. Yeah.
There's this quote that I think it's Michael. He says, he's talking about God. Maybe he figured the horns in your head fit the holes in mine. I just thought that was interesting.
Interesting
imagery.
Yeah. He got frustrated with her too, for sure.
He says, I wish I could open your mind and climb inside with you. Just these interesting ways that she, I don't know, puts that imagery in your head.
She talked about that she felt guilty for even being born because in the first place, her dad didn't even want her. Right. He would have rather have been aborted. So if you already come into life thinking you shouldn't even be here, then I don't know how you get out of that. Right. It takes a long time.
And at first I thought her mom
really did care about her, but
she did, but she was a pawn almost. She just wanted to use her life to get Alex.
Yeah. And her mother probably had a past, so that's the hard part. It's probably just this continuous cycle.
You do wonder how she got with him in the first place. Was,
Yeah. It's sad. It's a sad. Yeah, it was very sad, that beginning part. Backstory.
Let's see another quote. This is the fear section. And Michael says, "You are free. You just don't know it yet." It's like she was free, but she was keeping herself captive or something.
She was hearing these voices, like, which was probably Satan, but it was like Duke, the man who kind of took her and did all the horrible things. She kept hearing his voice. You are not, those lies, instead of hearing. She could never let any other voice in there because that's all she could hear.
Or she would let it in for a little while, like start believing those things, and then like Paul would come and say something snarky or whatever, and like she'd spiral out again.
Yeah, someone who's judging her and thinking she's telling her that she's not good enough to her face. Yeah, that was really hard. And every chapter had like a Bible verse or something that it said, that I thought that all those were always applicable.
Yeah.
Like chapter 3 said, "I can endure my own despair, but not another's hope." So that's kind of like she could endure, that, but not, Michael and what he stood for and everything. Just interesting how she did all that. Very good author.
You're halfway out of the picture.
Sorry.
I just realized.
I'm here.
This reminded me of, is it Reckless Love? That is that song called?
Reckless Love.
Like chases me down, fights till I'm found. I was thinking about that because when he chases her back to, she leaves and he comes and finds her.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so she's left. She leaves the first time and goes back to just town, right? Paradise. And doesn't stay there very long because he gets her back.
Yeah.
And then the second time, she goes to Sacramento or San Francisco or something, and with that storekeeper, right? He comes back and gets her. It's the last time she leaves that's gone. She's gone for a long time.
Yeah. And he says,
and he's not going to push it.
Right.
Yeah. Because I think that's when the Lord said to him, no, like she has to go and she has to experience something to come. Like this is going to be her rock bottom or her awakening or whatever, you know what I mean? For her to get
Jesus moment.
Yes.
Literally.
For her to, which was, because, it's like he had to just let her go. Kind of like with your kids. Sometimes you have to let them wander away before they come back.
That's hard.
Which sounds scary. But I feel like I've heard people say that with their adult children, especially, or teenage children or something,
We were just talking about that with math because I went to a math workshop and they were talking about letting them struggle with it and just waiting for them to process it, and it's really hard to watch them struggle. You just want to give them a
say
hint
this is it. Just look at this one or eat this one. Yeah, exactly. That is hard.
So I can't imagine Michael for all that time that she was gone, just waiting.
Yeah, like 3 years, and just thinking that but knowing that was God's plan. I'm sure he went up and down in his emotions and just like, really, is this it? But
he was doing the right thing.
Yeah, he was being obedient and not running after when he shouldn't have. Interrupting what God had planned, you know what I mean? Not that God couldn't do it or something else, but, letting it work the way it was supposed to.
Before the third time, what is this? His dreams were becoming her dreams.
She was falling in love with him, but she didn't want to admit that. Like she couldn't.
She didn't want to be betrayed.
Yeah, exactly. It's always that fear of getting hurt or hurting him, and then she couldn't have children. Which she thought, so she didn't want that for him, which I feel like is sacrificial for her to think of that. But
that in time, the third time she leaves, it is about
the children thing. Like I can't give it, and there's another girl there that could do that for him. So it's like, why not let him have this life? And more then at that point, I feel like it was more about him than her just running away to go back to her old ways. Exactly. That was the best. Yeah. But that third time when she runs away was a lot.
Yeah.
Like for her, it was a huge breakthrough.
Well, I kept, the whole book, I kept getting nervous that Duke was going to come back.
Yeah. I never even thought of that. So then when I did, I was
afraid.
Like, oh, like when I that page, and I think it went on to a next chapter, I was like, I got it. You can't just stop there. Like, there's Duke. And you're like, ugh. Scary.
I'm like, there's a lot of book left.
Yeah.
What's going to happen later? Like something really tragic or really bad.
Yeah, scary. It was scary.
I guess we hadn't talked about Miriam and
another family that had moved. Yeah, she had gotten so close. She had never. I feel like she didn't really have much close relationships other than some of the girls she was, a prostitute with. But these people were like family, and they took her in and didn't judge her and didn't.
Yeah, never once. Yeah, even.
Yeah.
And so in that time, for someone not to be judgmental about that was.
She was shown like the true love of a family and what it looked like for a husband and a wife, and she kind of saw this real picture. Yeah, of what she never had
experience really with a real family.
Right. That was huge.
Then, so the dog's growling. So Duke finds her in the city wherever she was. Sacramento or
San Francisco. I feel like maybe that was San Francisco that time. And
she just keeps getting protected from anything happening to her, until he puts her out in display in front of all the men.
Yes.
It's just like wild that this man is there.
Yeah.
The banker guy.
Yeah. And just, I felt like the Lord told him to go in there. It wasn't like he was even going to go in there because he's not that type of man, but it's just like he was obedient to that call and went in there. And then it was like all orchestrated because, my God, because it was like divine intervention immediately. Yeah.
And his wife she's like, what were you doing there? And never like suspects anything.
Yeah. Weird. She just, she trusted too that he knew what he was doing.
Right.
And when she rescued those girls, I first thought, oh, she's going to take them home and they're going to be her daughters.
I thought so too. And I was like, okay, good. Perfect. It's not predictable. Yeah. And I kept thinking, I was predicting what was going to happen, and I was glad it wasn't predictable in that way.
Yeah.
But when he's, what's the man's name? Do you remember?
Oh, the husband at that. I know.
But he says, the rescuer guy.
Yeah.
He says, I'm not going anywhere without you, ma'am. And I like held it together the whole book. And that when that happened, I was like sobbing.
That was, huge. And someone was rescuing her, and she wanted to rescue people. Yeah.
Right, because she says, I'm not going without them.
Yeah.
So.
These little girls that were like her, I think she saw herself in them and thought, I have to go. Yeah.
Scoot over so you're in the picture.
Sorry. I was just trying to look for the name. Susanna was the sister of that family, but I couldn't think of the dad's name. But this family took her in, and they took her and those two girls in, the man that rescued her.
Here I was just talking about how we can always remember the names, and it's never a problem. But I did write his name
down. And they didn't have as much prominence, they were only in that little part. Yeah. But good people.
I think it was him that said, just because you don't believe in God doesn't mean his power isn't working for you. Mm-hmm. And I was really reflecting on that a lot. Because he does use everyone, and that's kind of hard to wrap your mind around.
Yeah, sometimes. It is. But that's just the way we can't question that. Yeah,
he's working. He's working.
Mm-hmm. The Axels was their last name. Yeah. They were well known and highly respected in the community. That's how she talked about like the house on the hill, so she could go up there and feel safe. And
I just was like so proud of her when she got back there that she just stood her ground and didn't. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She went to try to find a job. And
Yes. She wanted to do better. Like, she really did desire more at that point. Yeah. She was changing. She had changed enough to,
He had given her that foundational, even though she wasn't really believing.
Yeah, but he was reading the Bible every day, and he was like, she was seeing all this stuff. Like, he was planting all these seeds. That's all he could do. Can't force someone, clearly.
Yeah. He had lived Christ so that she could understand. Mm-hmm. Then there's the part about the God box. Suzanne has the God box.
Yeah,
and I was like, wow. Yeah. Because I'd read about that. Gosh, it was before my oldest was born. So, I mean, it's been like 12 years.
Yeah.
and we had talked about it. Someone had sent me an email about a God box and what it was. And I talked to people at work about it, and one of the guys that worked in maintenance or whatever made some and like brought me one. I still have it.
Oh yeah, you should do some. But
I still put stuff in it, like during COVID. We would like put prayers in a box, and I put some of those in there.
It's just always good to. It's a reminder too, like when you have prayed for something, go back and go, oh, that got answered. Even if it was like 3 years later or 10 minutes later, like we prayed to find my keys. Yes, it worked. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah,
just gives you that hope,
especially for the kids.
Reassurance. Yeah. Those actual, like that's almost tangible thing that would be like, yes, that's
He's working for
even the little things,
Only he had opened himself to be used in her life by Christ. There was those two, just some quotes about he was being used, like there was another quote I didn't write down, but it was about, I need to go back and find it. It was about Michael not being her God.
Yes, because she was putting him as an idol. I think that's why the third time she went away, God was like, she's putting you in my place. Like, this is when you don't need to go rescue her again, because then she's just going to keep seeing him as God. I felt like that was, really big.
I'd like to find that quote too, because that was really good.
And she finally did, like, he never knew her real name. Like, they had called her Angel, and then he called her Amanda.
Called her Mara at first.
Yeah,
Bitter.
Bitter.
And then Amanda.
And then Tirza. He would sometimes call her Tirza, which my daughter loves that name. And then she finally found out that her name was Sarah, and he, like, fits you perfectly. Like, that was, like, the very last page almost until the epilogue, but...
I think that's so cool that that was, like, her one piece of innocence that she had, like, from forever. Yeah. And she just saved that up until...
Yeah. That was really cool. And the epilogue shares that they did have children.
It's almost like it's a real people.
I know, that's what it felt like. They shared many happy, on their 7th anniversary, their prayers were answered with the sun. And I was like, is this true?
I know, I was too. I was like, wait.
I mean, it could have been. It's a good redemption story for sure.
I like how the author did that, though, because I always feel like I want to know what happened to him, and
yes,
she just
me
kind
too.
of does it.
Me too. I'm always like, if you could just finish it off like that, it's always helpful. Yeah. But I mean, her redemption and Paul, like even there at the end, going and like all of that. There's so much more than just lots of characters have impacted her, and
I think that's crazy when Miriam goes to Paul's house and she's like,
I'm moving in.
Up.
Yes,
like, wow,
like a bold
like back
woman.
Then, that was wow.
Yeah, she was like, I am not leaving. Yeah, I was like, wow. And I didn't really know that he liked her. It was kind of they're kind of.
I thought I suspected it, but I didn't know why he was holding himself back.
I know. That's what I thought was weird. I thought he's just a weird guy.
Yeah.
And he's different.
He still was not, great.
Yeah, but he changed. So that was what we always wanted.
I have one last quote from the very end. Love the Lord your God and love one another as he loves. Love with strength and purpose and passion, and no matter what comes against you, don't weaken. Stand against the darkness and love. That's the way back into Eden. That's the way back to life.
That's perfect.
There was like, did you just have discussion questions?
Yeah.
I don't know if they're worth reviewing, but I kind of skimmed over them. But
I think it was probably from different chapters. Mine has it has rejected. Oh, and even has
these were different sections than were listed in the book. But a lot of it was just about rejection and betrayal and her earliest experiences with God. Like her mother
was Catholic, and I think she had a rosary. Like I think she prayed. Like she talked about, she obviously knew there was God. Like she had some kind of a background,
right? But Sarah always thinks of it. Well, God never rescued me.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's hard. I would, in her situation, I would find that too. Yeah, that's why I feel like anybody who's had that kind of a past, or who's felt betrayed by their parents, or this is a good story to give you hope. And she has Bible verses, like it's very well thought through and biblically sound. I feel like. Yeah. I mean, based on Bible. The story in the Bible, which are all true.
I guess you really don't know much more about Michael, though. You like don't learn anything about his, besides his sister.
Yeah. Just a single guy that.
I guess he does talk a little bit about himself, but it says what experience did Michael have with rejection or betrayal? But besides her, kind of rejecting him and betraying him by leaving him.
Yeah, but I don't think he had. Yeah, didn't indicate that he had anything else.
His parents were something was weird with his parents, but they were. It was he still loved them. Mm-hmm. I can't remember.
Yeah, yeah. I don't feel like I got into much. I don't remember as much of his story. Clearly, a strong man on his faith.
I liked when I think it's the second time she runs away and she ends up with Joseph.
Is that the storekeeper guy? Yeah.
I feel like he's the only man in the whole story besides Michael who
doesn't want to take advantage of her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just sees her as a person, a woman, and not a thing or a possession or something to be used.
Well, I guess the other family, but
yeah. Yeah.
The John or whatever his
name is. Yeah. John and Elizabeth, and yeah. It was a neat part.
Was it this bad during that time period? Like, was prostitution like this? Like, were the men all of the men?
I mean, like if you think about the saloons, and that was the entertainment.
Yeah.
You think about how that kind of popped up, and I feel like it just became.
Nobody had families. There weren't women because it was just the men going out to find gold. I don't know.
Yeah, especially in California, probably when it started springing up a lot. Yeah. Because I think in Little House on the Prairie, that's like the first time they saw a saloon was when they went out in California. Yeah. Crazy. It's crazy how nothing has changed.
Yeah. Nothing is new under the sun.
Nope. Yeah, a lot of this is about betrayal.
God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose. Romans 8:28. Mm-hmm. I feel like you see that throughout the whole book.
Yeah. Michael's standing strong because he wanted to give up on her and just be like, it's hard to love someone who doesn't love you at first and who doesn't even want to be there. Like, I don't know. You have to invest a lot into that. Yeah. It'd be hard.
And he's so just steady with it. And he's like patient and, he doesn't, I don't know. I feel like I'd be losing my temper all the time.
Yes. Yeah. He's a good man.
I don't know if there's anything else you want to take the time to do it.
I think some of this we talked about too, and just her leaving and
There's a lot of this discussion.
You could really go in deep to the each section, especially I feel like if you have been through some things like this, this could be really helpful.
Yeah. I saw some negative reviews when I listed on Goodreads, atheists or, just people who don't believe.
I mean, I guess if you definitely don't, I wouldn't read it then if you were totally, but it could bring you hope.
I'm just surprised. Sometimes I'm surprised that people read stuff that they just hate so much.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever read anything that I hated. Maybe 1984 was pretty bad, but I didn't hate it, I don't think.
I don't waste my time on things that I'm not going to enjoy. Yeah. It's not worth it for me. But I'm glad that person read it. Maybe someday it will resonate with them. Maybe it planted a seed.
Yeah. I hope so.
But
the writing is very good though. I mean, it's like, she's a good writer. The descriptions, the details, the way she brings out the characters.
Yeah. So out of 10 stars, what would you give?
I mean, I'd give it 10.
Yeah. Me too.
Because the story was obviously just a redemption story, and the writing is so good. And
there's nothing I don't. I always try to think when I give something such high marks.
Yeah.
What would I change about it if I could? And I just really can't.
I don't think there's anything.
Think of anything that.
Each part was good. It wasn't too long. I mean, I know it was longer, but it didn't feel like too long. Like there was so much in each section, like that. It was. Yeah. I could have done with less.
Didn't think it was super predictable, which I like.
Yeah.
When it's so predictable, I'm like.
Yeah, I didn't think so either, because I didn't expect the Duke thing, and like I thought it was going to do this, and every time I kept thinking, oh, she's gonna, but like you said, there was so much more book that it couldn't have happened.
Something's going to go wrong.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it's good.
Well, we have finished this one really fast, and we're not quite ready to read our next pick, so we're going to throw in an extra one. But,
yeah. But are we going to do that and talk about that one, or just do the berry pickers?
Yeah.
We're just doing that one for fun.
So,
all right, berry pickers will be the next one. Yes.
We can do whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
For the next one. We can do a video on the next one.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
Thank you for joining us, and
keep on reading,
raising, and praising.